Competitions were always like my first love. I felt free there. Even if at the end results matter, there's pressure, there's time limit and everything, I feel free there. I feel like I can express myself there. I can just show what I'm feeling there and I just show myself.
Alex, how many climbers out there get to go by one name only, especially your first name? I feel like that's a sign that you've completely made it to the pinnacle of elite climbers.
Yeah, how many are there? I can think of Yuji, I guess, Japanese climbing royalty. Sadly, there are like 10 professional Alexes. Alex doesn't mean anything. It's like, who else is there?
Yeah, I think we can both agree that today's guest qualifies on that list. When I say Janja, what jumps to mind?
Winning. Just absolute dominance. When I hear Janja, I think winning.
It's synonymous for the 26-year-old Janja Garnbret, who for the last 10 years has absolutely dominated competitive climbing.
Here's producer John Bergman, who has spent the better part of a decade covering Janja and the World Cup circuit.
I used to have in my notebook, I used to have a tally, like an ongoing tally of Janja's gold medal count. And it got to the point where I lost track because it's like, especially during the World Cup season, every time an article would come out, it's like by that point, if there was another World Cup that had started, it might be wrong. So it's somewhere in the 40s. And what is it? Like 8 World Championships, first ever Olympic gold medal. And of course now she has 2 Olympic gold medals. It's not just the medal count that's impressive. In other sports, you hear of it's not just that this person beats the people that are kind of in her own cohort, her own generation, but she also beat the people like when Janja came onto the scene, 2015, she gets in her World Cup second place right behind Mina Markovic, who is, 10 or 12 years older than Janja, something like that. Within a year, Janja is beating Mina Markovic. She's beating the competitors that are older than her. And as the years go by, she, of course, beats the people that are her own age. And then, as we saw in the Olympics, as a prime example, she beats the people that are now coming up that are 16 years old, 17 years old. She beats the next generation. She's able to, at least for the time, kind of like hold them off. To me, that's what's really fascinating. It's not just looking at her medals, it's diving into them and saying, okay, like what is the story here? What did all of these entail?
So John is not the only one who has lost track. When I checked it out, Wikipedia will tell you that Janja has won 46 World Cups, while her own website actually says it's 45. She's won 8 World Championships, 2 gold medals. How do you react to those numbers, Alex?
No, it's crazy. I mean, it's hard to imagine that level of dominance. I mean, just anybody in any sport with 2 Olympic gold medals, you're like, oh, that's really impressive. I mean, if she's been in competition for 10 years and she's won the World Championship 8 times, you're kind of like, man, that's a pretty good streak.
Yeah.
That is just so dominant. And she's not even, she's probably near her peak maybe, but I mean, she could probably double this if she tries.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just so incredible.
Yeah. And she has scaled back like the number of World Cups she's entering. So it's like that number could easily be 10 higher, like over the last few years.
Well, I think after you've won 40 World Cup golds, maybe the next 5 don't matter as much to you. At a certain point, you're like, it's like after your 8th World Championship, is the 9th World Championship really carry the same intensity? Like, do you care? And I guess that's at the heart of this interview. I mean, this is what we talked to Janja about. It's like, how do you keep caring when you've already won everything?
There's a side of Janja that is sort of a little bit of a mystery. She doesn't do tons of interviews. For being one of the most famous climbers on the planet, you might even say she's almost like media adverse, which is traditionally in climbing how athletes actually make their living. Like you have to be accepting of media, right?
Yeah, that's true. Though it's interesting because Janja is incredibly well-spoken and downright chatty. I mean, I interviewed her just after her most recent Olympic victory in Paris, and she was gregarious, she was friendly, she was chatting with media. But at the same time, she's so focused on her training that she just doesn't make many opportunities to speak to media, to do interviews. And so I think that from the public perspective, all you see is Janja winning. You see her as like a ferocious competitor, almost like a predatory cat that comes out, stalks its prey, devours the problems, wins, and goes home. And you just never get to see the actual person. And so, I mean, I think that's what's interesting. She is a bit of an enigma like that.
We were able to sit down with Janja at the start of the new year, and we could not think of a better way to kick off this season.
Today, we are delighted to welcome the greatest competition climber of all time, Janja Garnbret, to the show. We talk about greatness, the difficult path to her second gold medal, and about how she maintains her motivation when she's already won everything. I'm Alex Honnold.
I'm Fitz Cahall.
This is Climbing Gold. Well, let's just start with this year, with 2024. You've had an amazing year. Could anything have gone better for you this year? I mean, you won a gold medal. You won every competition you entered. You've bouldered V15. You know, it's like, is there anything that could have been better this year?
Yeah, honestly, it was really, really a dream year. I mean, even if in the best dreams, I couldn't have imagined this scenario. So it was the best year. And I think everything basically went smooth. Preparing for the Olympics, everything went smooth, and I felt pretty confident. I was injured in 23, so that was a bit of not the best time of my life. But after that, preparing for the Olympics, it went super, super good. And I was happy with every comp I did. I won every comp. And of course, I mean, I didn't do a full season, so I can't say that I really won everything. But yeah, like let's say it like that. I'm really happy how it went. And honestly, I couldn't have wished for a better year.
But in some ways, when everything goes so well like that, I feel like it puts more pressure in some ways. You know, how do you handle that? Like when you win every competition and that becomes the expectation, that becomes the normal, doesn't it make it harder to win the next competition?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've been in that kind of pressure for a couple of years now. I think from 2020, I haven't been worse than second, so which is already a huge pressure by itself. But honestly, I'm the one who is a perfectionist, and I put a lot of pressure on myself to perform good, to train good, to be the best version of myself. So I really don't feel any outside expectations, because I feel like the expectations that I put on myself are much, much higher than what everyone else could expect from me. So I feel like I'm my biggest critic. And I've been living with that since forever. So I'm used to it, kind of.
But where does that come from? Like how can you even be your biggest critic when you're so good? You know, it's like basically like at a certain point, aren't you just like, you know what? I've done a good job.
Yeah, you don't hear that from myself, really, from me, that I would say I really did a good job, because I always find that something is missing. I always find some imperfections, something that I need to improve on. So I mean, of course, I have a coach and he tells me what are my strengths and what are not my strengths, but still, I feel like I can improve every year, every month. Even if I did like my best ever work, I'm always like finding something that I could still improve on.
Where do you think that drive comes from? Have you had that from the very beginning as a young girl climbing?
That's a good question. When I was in school and I started climbing, I was still doing track and field and tennis and all this stuff. I always wanted to be the best in everything. I wanted to have the best grades in school. I wanted to, like, let's say if we had like some track and field comp in school, and I wanted to beat like those girls that actually trained track and field. So I was always very competitive and I always had that drive. But then I realized that it's pretty draining. Like, if you want to be the best in everything, it's like...
Yeah, it's too much.
It's just too much, felt too much. So at a pretty young age, basically, when I was, what I would say, maybe 10 or 11, I needed to decide in what field I want to be the best, you know? So that's when I decided, okay, climbing is the one thing I really want to be the best, and all the other things are just not important. And I think that spark comes from a very young age. My competitiveness, my perfectionism, I think it comes from very early.
Do you have brothers or sisters?
Yes, I have a sister. She's 12 years older than.
Oh, she's much older than you?
Yeah, she's much older than me and complete opposite. So she's not doing any sports. So I think I got all the genes from her.
So there was no competition within the family?
No, not within the family, because also my parents were not climbers. So I come from a non-climbing family, and also climbing back then wasn't even popular.
Yeah.
And my parents didn't know about climbing. They didn't know what are the rules of climbing, even when I already started climbing and competing. And they actually didn't know about anything. Like, let's say about when I was doing a bouldering comp, they actually thought that the more tries I have, the better it is. So, which is very funny. So basically they were learning with me, but they were always supporting me in whatever I chose. So I'm really lucky that I grew up in that environment. But yeah, I come from a totally non-climbing family.
That's interesting about your family, because my family was exactly the same way, where neither parent knew anything about climbing.
Yeah.
In some ways, your parents had a healthier approach when they think, oh, the more tries, the better. You know, it means that you're overcoming a challenge. They're like, that's great. They're like, it must be, you know, that's a...
Yeah, but actually, I'm pretty happy that it happened that way, that I come from a non-climbing family. I mean, of course, if you grow up in a climbing family, that's normal for you. But for me, I think... it was good. They let me do my thing. They, of course, they were always involved. They were driving me to competitions. They were always watching competitions. So they were always involved, but not in intrusive way, you know? Like they let my coach do his thing, and they were not always, actually never, present at my training. So they actually let me do what I do. And I think that's why I also grew up in an athlete that I am, which I'm very grateful for.
Yeah, my family was very similar, where they were like, oh, very supportive. Like, if you love climbing, you go climb, but they didn't know anything about it.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's the best, maybe.
Yeah, it really does. We'll be back with more after the break.
It's the North Face, sponsoring Climbing Gold this year. Alex, what is your action suit?
Well, my action suit, actually, when I'm at home, I think of it as my outdoor clothes, because I actually do everything in either outdoor clothes or indoor clothes. And so my outdoor clothes are the super dirty outdoor, the synthetic layers, the fleeces, the puffies, the pants. I think I took this from Mark Twight maybe, but I think I do often think of it as my action suit. You're like, oh, this is the suit you put on to go outdoors. I mean, and particularly on expeditions like Antarctica, where you literally can't leave your tent without your action suit on because the conditions are so extreme that, like, you can't even get out of bed without putting on all the layers and the correct layers with the wicking bottoms and the mid layer and the outer layer and the waterproof layer. That's like, in the most extreme environments, you do really have to wear the suit. It's like going to space. Like even when I'm doing casual climbing at home, I'm sort of like, oh, you may as well have the warmest thing, the lightest thing. And so I'm basically always using Summit Series, which is athlete tested, expedition proven. Whatever you practice in is what you want to perform in. If you're doing scary climbing all the time in a particular pair of pants, a particular jacket, you know that they fit, you know how they move, like that's what you're going to wear for the extreme things as well. The North Face has you covered. Find your action suit at thenorthface.com.
Alex, are you a pancake guy?
I feel like it's impossible to feel full from eating a pancake.
That's
like,
how I feel.
You have to eat like 100 of them,
too.
and you have to like lather them in peanut butter and stuff. And even then, you're hungry like 20 minutes later, and you're like, "What the fuck's the point?"
What if I told you there's a pancake that could take care of that issue?
There is a pancake that can take care of this issue. It's Kodiak Cakes.
Kodiak Cakes. Rawr.
Tell me about Kodiak Cakes.
Kodiak Cakes are delicious and nutritious, packed with protein. Breakfast at the Honnold household is often oatmeal or pancakes. The kids get up, Sonny gets all fired up, we whip something up in the kitchen, and we have something delicious and nutritious and filling for the kids.
What else does Kodiak make?
I think Kodiak Cakes are known for the pancakes, but actually I think we eat more of the oatmeal at the house. And they also make these insane little dessert nuggets that you microwave that Sonny was making, like little brownies that she makes in the microwave. They were like the ultimate treat. They're so good, it's insane. Fuel your spring and summer adventures with a quick breakfast packed with the real good stuff. 100% whole grains, protein, and a whole lot of flavor. Find Kodiak Cakes at your local grocery store. They're the ones with the bear on them. Learn more at kodiakcakes.com. How was your experience this year in Paris?
It was great. I think it was very different apart from Tokyo. Tokyo was very okay, there was COVID, there was pandemic, so it was different in that perspective. But in Tokyo, I think first it was completely new experience. You know, you are in Olympic Village, you don't know how the protocols are, how everything works, what kind of pressure there is. So I needed to learn that. So coming into Paris, I felt definitely more relaxed because I knew how things work and I knew how much pressure I will feel there. So it felt much easier in that perspective.
I would have thought that you'd feel more pressure coming into Paris because, you know, going into Tokyo, nobody really had as many expectations. I mean, obviously you were favored to win.
Yeah.
But it's the first time that climbing has ever been. And with the triple combined format, you know, it's just kind of like, oh, anything could happen. It's just an adventure. But with Paris, it felt like you had to win. You didn't feel more pressure the second time around?
It's really hard to say. I mean, it was definitely harder to keep the gold medal for the second time than winning it the first time. So that's for sure. But just like what's happening around the competition itself, it was much easier in Paris. Of course, I was the favorite on the paper, but anything could happen in Paris and anything could happen in Tokyo. It's hard to compare because they were like two completely different experiences. But I think just from what was happening, I think Paris was easier because I knew what was going on exactly.
Yeah, interesting. You've said that after Tokyo, that you had a bit of a dark period after winning your first gold, that for a while you found it hard to find motivation or hard to train, just, you know, hard to be excited.
Yeah.
Did you experience that after Paris?
No, no. Paris was, like I said, like different experience because I learned so much from Tokyo. And one thing was also like that dark period after Tokyo. And I think that happened because, so I had a plan. Everything was planned for Tokyo. And after that, I didn't have any plans. I didn't have any rock projects. I didn't have anything. So when Tokyo finished, I was like, what do I do with my life now? I didn't imagine that I could like ever top something again or climb again or try hard again. So it was a very weird feeling. But I learned that you need to take a step back, maybe 2 steps back, and wait for the motivation to come back, for the goals to come back. And then I could get back to training. So for Paris, I knew that I need to do a rest after a comp like that. So that's what I did. So after Paris, I had some rock goals. I had plans outside. I was in Seoul. I was like in Arco. I was in Swiss. So I was all around. So I had some goals. But most importantly, for 4 months, I didn't train at all. Maybe in 4 months, I was climbing inside maybe 5 times, but all the rest was just like rock climbing, which really, really helped my mind, my body and everything. So I didn't have that dark period at all.
It's funny you say that you didn't train at all because in those 4 months, you climbed some of the hardest routes in the world. You tried some of the hardest routes in the world. I think to most rock climbers, they would think that that's pretty hard. You know, like, oh, wow, you're trying, you know, you're bouldering V15, you're bouldering V14 in a session, like no problem. You're trying 9B, 9B plus, whatever, like hard routes. You know, most people would consider that training in some respect. And for you, that's vacation. Like, that's so crazy.
Yeah, I mean, vacation. I cannot call it vacation. But what I mean, but not training, I was like always and constantly climbing outside. But like I wasn't in the like routine of training and like doing things on the spray wall. And I think my shape for Paris was so good that it stayed actually for 4 months. So that's why I could like do V14s, I could project 9B plus. So yeah, I mean, but it definitely wasn't a vacation.
What is it about outdoor climbing that's more relaxing for you in a way? Or like, you know, what is it about the experience of climbing on rock outdoors that feels different than training in competition?
Yeah, I mean, when you train, I have everything planned. I have very like structured training. I know exactly what I will be doing in training, like also like a month or 2 in advance. But for rock climbing is always like there's no pressure at all. There's no one to say, okay, now it's your time. You have to go and show what you trained for. And there's no time limit. So you're just enjoying in the nature, just relax, just trying hard. Like no pressure and just vibes. So that's why I really like it, and I will be doing more of rock climbing in the next year.
I was going to ask, can you talk about any of your goals on rock? Is there anything in particular that you're training for?
Yeah, definitely. Like bibliography, that's one route I really, really want to do. So as soon as it gets a bit warmer in Seoul, I'm definitely going back. It's definitely a dream route that I really want to do. And apart from that, I just want to like travel. I want to climb some of the hardest routes and boulders and just enjoy more of rock climbing, which I couldn't do in the past years. Let's say first I had school competitions were my priority. So all I had was school, training, and competition. So I didn't have any time for rock climbing. After that, it was Tokyo. I really wanted to focus on that. Of course, Tokyo was postponed for a year. So like the Olympic cycle was for 1 year shorter. So I prepared for Paris. But now finally, after a season like that, it's time to maybe step back from comps and do more of rock climbing, which I'm really excited for. And yeah, I don't have like really like specific, like apart from bibliography, I don't have really specific routes or boulders in mind, but I just want to like climb everything. Like I just want to go like everywhere and just climb, which I couldn't do in the past years.
Yeah, do you feel free having won all the competitions, having a little time before the next big competitive round? I mean, you have like a free year or two. How does that feel?
It feels That's also a good question because, like, let's say next year I will be definitely doing a World Champs in Korea end of September, so I will be ready for that, and of course the Home World Cup in Koper. But let's say competitions were always like my first love. I felt free there. Also, even if at the end results matter, there's pressure, there's time limit and everything, I feel free there. I feel like I can express myself there. I can just show what I'm feeling there and I just show myself. So I also in competitions, I feel free. But next year will be different and I will be feeling free, but in a different way.
Yeah.
So there won't be any pressure. There won't be any, like I said before, no one to say, okay, now it's your time. You have to go and show what you trained for. But there will be maybe another side that I wasn't really familiar with. That means projecting, because before in the past years, if I didn't do a routine first, second, or third try, I didn't bother coming back because first, of course, time was one limitation because I didn't have a lot of time for projecting. So definitely, I would feel frustrated if something doesn't go as planned. But I will learn something from that. I will learn patience. So I think it will be a different experience, but a very valuable one.
Yeah, it's interesting with outdoor climbing, so much of it comes down to weather and conditions and, partners, like just all the things that go into the experience at the crag.
Yeah.
You're talking about trying bibliography, which is 9B plus, 15C, one of the hardest routes in the world. How did that feel for you this year?
I was always joking that it would be great to just move bibliography to a gym. I can set a temperature and just climb. But yeah, definitely outside, as we all know, conditions play a huge role. Like sometimes it's too hot, then it's too cold, then it's raining, then it's humid, then skin played a huge factor in Seoul. It's so sharp that my skin was sore and destroyed every single day. So I needed to get used to that. And you're not used to that in a gym really. But like all these factors that play a huge role, and I needed some time to really accept that, to really adjust that. And I always knew like that I'm strong enough, I can do it. But then conditions play such a huge role that I was always like so frustrated if something didn't go, according to plan, if it was too humid or like my skin was not the best. So I needed to learn patience.
Mm-hmm. You're talking about your climbing, and it's mostly focused around these super intense competitions on the biggest stages, and then trying the hardest routes in the world. What role does fun play in climbing to you, or joy? Like when are you having the most fun as a climber?
I mean, climbing is always fun for me. That's maybe like a weird perception that training is not fun or that comps are not fun, but you need to make it fun. Because I know for myself that if I'm not enjoying, if I'm not feeling joy, then also I won't be winning anymore if I don't feel joy. And I just like won't go to training anymore if I don't feel joy. So for me, it's all about being happy, just being happy in life in general and enjoying climbing. And basically every time I go to train, I just enjoy trying hard. I enjoy training and I make it enjoyable, you know. But like definitely when it's the most fun is when the weather outside is perfect, it's not humid, the conditions are amazing, you are there with friends, you just climb without pressure, you enjoy the movements, you know, just climbing itself. And it doesn't need to be like the hardest route in the world. It can be like something easier, but like just enjoying the vibes. And that's like just that community, just hanging out with your friends is definitely the most beautiful part. But like I said, I enjoy like whatever I decide, even if that is training, if that's competitions or just rock climbing. So I make it fun.
Yeah, I mean, but I think that's interesting. Like, how do you make it fun? Like, is that a mindset? Is that something that you just decide? Because, you know, in a lot of ways, training is physically painful. You know, your muscles hurt, your fingers hurt, your body is tired all the time. You know, and I think for some people, they would find that very unfun. You know?
Yeah, it is unfun, but I don't know. I think it's a mindset. It's a mindset that you just like enjoy whatever it is. I don't know. I just enjoy maybe the training, and I enjoy when my muscles are sore, when my skin is sore, and I just know that I'm getting stronger and better. But I think that's all mindset, and that's all what you enjoy and what you don't. But yeah, for some people, of course, that's not fun, and they rather go like rock climbing, or they maybe enjoy fitness more than climbing itself, so they find joy in that. But I think it depends from person to person, from personality to personality, but I just like make it fun. And I think it's mindset, like you said.
So you're the best competition climber of all time, male or female. I mean, which is pretty incredible. I mean, you've accomplished things in climbing that nobody else has accomplished, and with that, you've seen a lot of success, a lot of fame. I saw it in Paris in person. I mean, people were so excited for you. I mean, you know, you have legions of fans. Like in Paris, there was, you know, I mean, Slovenian flags flying, and I'm like, I don't even think these people are Slovenian. You know, they're just so fired up. They're like Janja fans. But at the same time, you seem like a relatively private person. How do you feel about that side of success? Like, what does it feel like to have inspired a whole generation of kids in climbing and having full-on fans? You know, it's like in a lot of ways, I feel like in competition climbing, you're the closest thing to like a Formula One driver or something, you know, like where people watch competitions to like watch you climb. Well, what does that mean to you?
I mean, honestly, like when you mentioned Paris and people with Slovenian flags, and they were not even Slovenians, it's pretty incredible. Even when I was climbing like the lead route and I was on the hold for a gold medal, I heard the crowd went wild, and I can't even describe that feeling. It was phenomenal. For me, I never wished to be famous. I never said when I was a kid, when I started climbing, when I started competing on the biggest stage, I never said to myself, okay, I want to be a rock star, or I want to be in the spotlight, and I want to be famous, that everybody recognizes me on the street. I wasn't like that. But that just like, I think, came naturally. And even now, I'm not like, I really enjoy being famous. But what really is the thing for me is that I can like inspire people, and that how much joy I can bring to people, even like taking a picture, or like when a kid comes to me and says that I am like their biggest inspiration. That's what fills my heart, and that really motivates me and inspires me to keep on going, to keep trying hard, to keep winning, to keep climbing outside. And this is what inspires me. When I inspire people, they inspire me back.
Oh, yeah. And do you think that helps with your motivation?
Yeah, absolutely. Like when you feel that support from kids, from people from all generations, that really inspires me, and that motivates me to keep going. Especially if you have like a hard time with training, or just like if you're injured, like I was last year, and people just want to kind of help you. So that really motivates me back, and I'm really grateful for all my supporters and fans, because without them, definitely it's harder. So I'm really grateful for them.
So speaking of that kind of motivation and inspiration, where else do you look within the climbing world or in other sports for inspiration? Because you've now accomplished more in competition climbing than anyone ever has. So really, you know, you kind of have to look outside of the sport to find other examples of dominance like that. You know, you could like look to tennis or something, look at like Serena Williams or who knows what. Where do you draw inspiration? Do you look to other sports? Have you thought about that at all?
Yeah, definitely. I have some like not that I would say that I have role models in other sports, but I have people that inspire me, and that like was definitely Simone Biles. She definitely inspired me a lot, or Michaela Schifrin, or Serena Williams, of course, or Naomi Osaka. So they were all like my not role models. I mean, definitely role models, but like I'm
inspirations.
fangirling right now. But but inspirations, because like I always admired athletes that are dominant in their sports, you know. And I was always like listening to or podcasts or like just videos of them to see what they are thinking, that what is the thing that I could use for myself. They just inspired me with passion for their sport and how dedicated they were to their sport. So they really inspire me, and yeah, I take a lot of motivation from them. Let's say what Simone did after Tokyo with all the mental health, like how much awareness she brought to it. I'm really inspired by that.
Are there any other specific lessons that you've pulled from any of these other dominant women in sports? Are there any other sort of ideas or, lessons that you've learned from them?
I mean, lesson probably would be that they just do their thing. They don't care about what others say, but they just do their thing, and they work hard. And even if you fail, if you don't succeed, it's important that you bring yourself up again and continue with the work. So let's say what happened to Simone in Tokyo and what happened to Michaela in 22. So
I forget what that was.
They failed,
Yeah.
but they got back up and like dominated the sport again after that, after a little setback. So yeah, really inspiring.
You mentioned Simone Biles bringing awareness to mental health after Tokyo. And over the years, you've been a staunch advocate for body positivity, or sort of noting the problems that climbing has with disordered eating.
Yeah.
And it's not something that most competitors talk about or are willing to talk about.
Yeah.
Why is it that you've been so willing to speak out about that?
So the very start, why I started to speak about that was when I heard 8 or 9 years old girls saying that if they lost a few pounds, they would be stronger or climb better. So that's something that really hurt me. So that's when I decided that I should speak up about it. And especially in climbing, like we all kind of know what's going on, and everybody was speaking behind everybody's backs, basically. So I really hated that, and that was like a taboo theme in climbing. So I felt in a position to say something about it, and that's when I spoke up. And especially, I think in this generation, I don't think anything will change because everybody is so into their thinking. But I hope for the generations to come, something will change, and they will realize that you don't need to be light to be strong.
Yeah. How do you think that your message has been received? I mean, I feel like the official governing bodies of climbing have maybe not been that receptive to you talking about disordered eating.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's a sensitive subject with the climbing federations and with the IOC, like all the different, the politics around competition climbing. But what can you say about that?
Yeah. I can say that generally speaking, I got a lot of positive feedback. So people were mostly really happy about me speaking up. They were agreeing with me with the first post actually that I made on Instagram. So they were actually really happy that I spoke up about it and said something, because it was long overdue to say something about that thing. So they were happy. But like speaking about the politics behind it, it's moving in some direction, but we are definitely not there yet. So I hope also there will be some measurements in place that it will be a really healthy sport for everybody and safe. So I hope this will change in the year and years to come. But I think this needs to change first in the minds of athletes, and then everything will follow. So that's why I said in this generation, not much will change, but in the future, I hope things will change.
What about the mindset needs to change?
I mean, of course, climbing is a sport related to your weight. So like, let's say the lighter you are, the stronger you can be. So first, like, this mentality needs to change. The lighter you are, the better you are. So first that. And that starts with, I think, with coaches, within the family, within friends, and of course how we speak about bodies, and we should not comment on bodies because bodies are all different. So first this mentality needs to change, and then I think everything else will follow.
So basically you're advocating for a mindset of stronger, not lighter.
Exactly.
It seems like that's the way to say it, is you want people to be stronger,
that's
not
exactly
lighter.
the way to say it. Yeah, because being light is not the same as being strong. It just means that you are light. But yeah, that's basically what I'm saying.
No, totally. So correct me if I'm wrong, but I sort of felt like in some ways the competition climbing in general has started to trend towards encouraging strength, not lightness, just because of the how powerful some moves are, the coordination, the quickness, the speed. Like basically the setting involved in competition climbing now seems to favor strength in a way that in the past it maybe favored lightness a little bit more, just being able to hang on for a long time. Do you think that the setting and sort of competitions themselves can encourage a positive relationship with body and body image and weight and all those things just through the way the competitions are set? Is that a possibility?
Exactly. That's exactly what I've been thinking. And I think maybe in lead, we are not there yet. Because in lead still, especially in women's setting, it's more about endurance than maybe like that the moves are hard. But bouldering definitely can encourage that, especially like you said, the route setting can encourage that. Slowly, athletes will realize that if the setting continues like that, if it favors more that you are strong than light, then something will change just by that. Just by if the route setting changes, then we don't need any measurements in place actually. So definitely route setting itself can encourage that, but people need to realize that.
We'll be back with more after the break. We got to be able to make a decent AG1 ad, because AG1 is the one thing that I actually do use every single day.
How do you drink your AG1? Do you put it in a smoothie or something, Alex? What do you do?
No, just drink it in water.
Is it like part of your everyday?
I would say AG1 is a big part of my expedition routine, because anytime I travel, I always take the travel packs, and I start every morning that way, and it feels like a good, healthy habit to maintain, particularly when I'm away from the house. But really, I drink it every morning either way. It just feels even more important when I'm on expeditions. And you just never know what you're going to eat is the main thing. You just don't know if you're going to get wholesome food or not. It helps you cover your bases a little bit.
So you feel like AG1 is your insurance policy for kicking ass?
Yeah. I think without AG1, I probably would never send. No, I mean, it's a healthy habit that I like and I think serves me well. And I believe it enough that it's been several years and I'm still going. The drinking AG1 means enough to me that now I've started making a second bottle every morning for Sonny. Whenever she gets up, there's always a bottle sitting there waiting for her, just because I really do think that it's good for me and that it helps. And I believe it enough that I make it for my wife too, even though I run out twice as fast that way. Sad.
What's AG1 offering Climbing Gold listeners right now?
AG1's offering new subscribers a free $76 gift when you sign up. So you get a welcome kit, a bottle of vitamin D, and 5 free travel packs, which is what I always use on expeditions. So make sure to check out drinkag1.com/climbinggold to get the offer. That's drinkag1.com/climbinggold.
Are you a person that deals or have you gotten old enough that you deal with cramps at all?
I've never cramped, really. Great.
Welcome to your 40s, Alex. It's a party.
But I mean, I know young people who cramp sometimes. I just don't cramp. I don't know.
Yeah, I didn't either until 3 years ago.
Oh, yeah? Okay, we'll see.
Last week, dude, I was doing a 50K. I wiped out super hard. I stood up, and then my hamstring just fully shut down 25 miles into this race. It was just mayhem. And I stopped, and I put an LMNT into my water bottle, and I drank it, and I totally nursed it, and it worked. I got through it. I thought I was done. I thought I was totally hosed in the race. Got through it. Thanks, LMNT.
Dude, see, I'm just not old enough to properly appreciate it. I'm just kind of yeah, it's nice to have an electrolyte drink. It seems, it's nice sometimes. It makes big outings feel better. I'm like, oh my God, you would have DNF'd if you hadn't had your element.
That's what happens when you're 8 years older and you're Gen X and not a millennial.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, basically, if you're exercising and you're sweating, you are losing electrolytes. And so depending on what you're doing and the intensity at which you're doing it, you have to replenish your electrolytes or else you cramp like Fitz.
LMNT is formulated for anyone on a mission to restore health through hydration and is perfectly suited for athletes, folks who are fasting, or those following keto, low carb, whole food, or paleo diets.
Get your free Element sample pack with any purchase at drinkelement.com/climbinggold. That's drinklmnt.com/climbinggold. If you don't mind, could we talk a little bit about your coach, Roman? I feel like, so you've been working with Roman since 2019. He's been with you through 2 gold medals. Can you talk a little bit about how, well, basically I'm interested in the relationship between a climber and their coach. Like, how do you trust somebody? Like, basically, how did you seek out Roman? How did you start working together? And what has he done to help you succeed at the highest levels?
So he's basically, he loves climbing. That's the first thing. He really loves climbing. He's really enthusiastic about it. So every time you're like training with him, you feel the joy. Maybe that's where the joy comes from within training. But he just like makes you enjoy the process. So that's definitely one thing that he brings. He's of course a perfectionist in its own way, and I'm a perfectionist in my own way, and we have like a, I don't know, like a special relationship. It's like just like trust, and you just know that you're in good hands. And he's basically, apart from like physical training, he's also like a psychologist, because I'm not working with any psychologist. So every problems that I have or everything that bothers me, I talk with him, and he kind of guides me through it. But yeah, basically everybody that ever trained with him, not just me, everybody that trained with him basically are saying the same thing. He just like kind of knows how you work, like he knows your body language. So basically sometimes I walk into the gym and he knows how the training will look like just by my body language. So he basically gets to your level and makes you enjoy the process and helps you reach the full potential. And I don't know, I think it's just like amazing how he knows what your potential looks like and knows how to get you there. And I've honestly never seen anything like that in a coach.
I've always wondered how an athlete like yourself, like anyone who's the best in the world at what they're doing, so say you, or say, Serena Williams in tennis at her peak, how do you trust a coach to take you to the next level, to get you better when you're already the best ever? Roman is obviously not as good of a climber as you are, but he's an incredible coach. Like, how do you come to trust somebody to learn from them, even if you're technically better than them at it in a way?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, with my previous coach, I felt like we reached our limit. So we achieved something together. He brought me to a new level. But I felt like that's it. We can't come any higher. So I kind of outgrew that relationship, and I was looking for someone who had like more experience and knew more about training, more about structured training, more about movement and climbing. Roman, so I knew him since I started competing in a World Cup, so since 2015. And back then he trained me at some national trainings when he was a team coach for Slovenian climbing team. So that's where I first felt that maybe he is the one who could bring me to a new level. But you never know if you don't try. So maybe it wouldn't work. But still, I asked him to coach me. And like soon when we started training together, he already saw that I have many weaknesses and that we should improve them. And he showed me a new way of training, and I liked his like structured way and how he thinks about training and about climbing. So I think that's why it worked. But maybe with someone else it wouldn't work. It's actually all about trust. So how much you're willing to trust, that's the question. And then as soon as we started working, I started seeing progress. I started seeing that I'm better going day by day. And that's where I saw that he can bring me to a new level. And that's it basically.
What weaknesses did you think you had when you started working with Roman? Like and where do you think you are now with those like what do you consider a weakness now? I mean, as the most dominant competition climber of all time, like.
Yeah, I mean, if I compare myself now to when I started training with Roman, I'm basically a completely different climber or completely different athlete. I had many weaknesses. Even if I was first and world champion, whatever, I had many weaknesses. And I am kind of disappointed how I climbed back then. And I would change a lot of things. But yeah, maybe that's more a question for Roman than for me. But like my lead climbing was terrible, absolutely terrible. And even if I was winning World Cups and being world champion, it was terrible. I didn't know how to rest. I didn't know how to climb. My pacing of the route was totally off. So I was not a good climber. And generally speaking, I wasn't climbing well, even if I was like very good on paper.
Huh.
But I learned a lot. I had like a very special style, you know, I wasn't afraid to risk things. So indeed climbing all the time risking is not the best. So I needed to learn that. I needed to learn how to lead climb actually. And he taught me that. He guided me through the process of learning how to lead climb, generally getting me to a next level, also in bouldering, like strength itself. I was always more strong than technical. My technique, he let's say, got my technique as well to a higher level, as well as physical.
What do you think the most important thing that you've learned from Roman is?
He always says, but it's more like a sentence in Slovenian than maybe in English, but a direct translation would be like, we are training for tomorrow, not for today. So I'm very let's say impatient. I always want things now, you know. I want to be the strongest now, not like in a month. So he kind of taught me that that patience is the key, that you need to take it slow and that we will get there where we want to be. So I learned that from him a lot, yeah.
I guess that's an easy lesson to learn once you start to win. Like once you win a gold medal, once you win, then it's easy to believe in the process because you're like, okay, it's working. Like, you know, the multi-year process.
Yeah, but I kind of feel like that you need to start believing this already before, that it can actually work at the end.
Yeah.
But definitely, when you start seeing progress so early, it's easier to believe.
So you burst into the competition scene in 2015. You started winning. You were a dominant force. Now it's been almost 10 years later. What about you as a competitor is the same, and what about you has changed?
You know, that's funny, because when I started competing, I already had some some thinking in my head, some routines were already in place. So 10 years later, I'm still using the same routines, the same kind of thinking now. So it's actually crazy, but definitely you learn things, you gain experience. So I'm definitely more experienced climber, but the joy is still the same, and I still feel like a 15-year-old just coming into the World Cup, and that's actually the best feeling. But personally, I'm still the same person, and the best compliment I get from my friends is that I'm still the same person now with 2 Olympic gold medals than I was when I started. So this is the biggest compliment for sure. But yeah, of course, you gain experience, you learn a few things, every comp you are basically in a different situation. So every time is something new, you learn something new, which you can use for training and for another competition. But generally speaking, I'm still the same old Janja.
How do you think your friends and your family would describe you?
You need to ask them about that. But they would say, I'm hyperactive. I was as a kid as well. I'm positive. I'm smiling all the time. I'm just generally a positive person, kind, and open-minded, open to people. Yeah.
That's interesting because I think the public perception, most people only really see you in competition, sort of, or on rock, but they only see you as this dominant force, just winning and being the best.
Yeah.
And so people see a certain intensity, a certain level of, perfectionism.
Yeah.
This incredible drive. Do you think that public perception is different than the real Janja?
Yeah, I mean,
obviously that's all there. Like, you are very driven.
Yeah.
But it's interesting to hear you describe yourself with totally different words.
Yeah, I mean, what you see on TV is definitely I heard from people that I look intimidating, but that's because I'm just just very focused on what I'm doing, just focusing on myself. Of course, very driven and focused. But I think they should just spend more time with me or just like met me once because I can be pretty funny. But yeah, what you see in a competition is maybe it's just like focused me. So I always say that when I compete, I'm in my own world. I'm kind of in a bubble, and I just do what I need to do. But like in real life, I'm just like very, very, very go with the flow person, and I can be very funny, like I said.
Yeah, but I've always felt like in competition, you look like a big cat hunting.
I know, right?
You know, like a predator. Like you come out and it looks like stalking prey. Like you come out to a problem. I mean, and especially in Paris, because with the boulder rounds, you basically came out, you devoured the problem, and you went back. And I was like, oh, this is like a lioness, like taking down game. I was like, oh wow. When I heard people say that I look intimidating, I kind of feel bad because that's really not who I am. I'm not intimidating person like when you meet me. Well, I guess so. I mean, we'll try to leave you soon here because I know your time is limited. But we have to ask, you know, so LA 28, is that the obvious next big competition? Like, will you go to the Olympics again?
Yes, I really want to. I kept it open. So before Paris, I really didn't want to talk about LA or even Brisbane because I wanted to leave it open.
What's Brisbane?
2032 Olympics.
Oh my God!
So
you already know what 2032 is?
No, I'm not. No, I'm not. I'm definitely not. I will be pretty old by then. But yeah, already after Tokyo, I said I'm never competing again. But then Paris came, and I said, okay, let's get ready for Paris. And then after Paris, I said I'm never competing again. But then like 2-3 months later, I'm again like saying I really want to be at the Olympics again. So of course I want to be in LA, but I will be pretty old by then already. But yeah, I will try, and I want to be there.
That's great. I'm hoping to be in LA as well. And, you know, I have 2 young daughters who by LA will be old enough to actually remember things like that. And so I'm actually pretty excited to bring the family to LA. And so hopefully the whole family will be rooting you on because, I mean, my older daughter, I'm sure she will be a big fan. It's amazing.
It will be nice to meet both of them.
I guess for a last question, do you think that is there any limit to your motivation? I mean, you're looking at the Olympics 4 years from now and maybe again in 2032. I mean, can you imagine a time in which you get tired? You know, like, is there any limit to your drive?
Probably competition-wise, there will be a time when I will feel like I've done everything I could. I don't have really motivation or joy to compete anymore. So I think there will come a time, but I always said that I don't want to speak about when that time will be because I don't know actually. But that's something I think that comes from within yourself, that's internally. And I don't know when that time will be, but definitely there will be a time when I will be tired of competing. I will be just tired and done with it. But like for rock climbing or for training, I think as long as I'm injury free and healthy, I think I will always have motivation and I will always find something to work towards too.
Thanks, Janja, for sitting down and talking with us. We appreciated you letting us into your world. A couple other notes. So we're making a few changes to the show this year. We are going to be coming out every 2 weeks now instead of every week. But this allows us to stop taking these huge breaks because we'd just like to keep doing this all the time. Took some figuring. We did it. So that'll be some changes. So pay attention for us. 2 weeks. We've got an incredible episode coming out. Climbing Gold is a production of Duct Tape Than Beer. Alex Honnold is our host. Today's episode was written and edited by Marco Seiler Gonzalez and me, Fitzka Hall. Our social media producer is Skylar Perwins. Additional editing and mixing by the incredible Evan Phillips. Thanks, Evan. You always got our back. Make us sound good. Music today by Brendan O'Connell, Joya, and Chris Sweden. Our executive producers are Jonathan Retzik and Ben Endy for RXR Sports, and Lacey Hendricks and Becca Call for Duct Tape Than Beer. I'm Fitzka Hall. Thanks for listening to Climbing Gold.